All right, it's Tuesday, March 30th, 2021 at 7 o'clock. And we'll start roll call, and we'll start to the left.
Mike Orrington, City Council Member.
Homer, City Council Member.
Dr. Joseph Ford, City Council Member.
Shelby Carcelari, City Council Member.
Ronnie Price, Mayor.
Troy Tabor, City Council President.
Tim Berry, Council Member.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll call Kyle. I'm sorry, I knew I was going to do that. I asked him 3 times. I apologize, sir. And he's from Journey Church.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray together. God, we are grateful for our city, and we are grateful for the many people who make this place our home. We're grateful for its businesses and its leaders and its schools and its children. And so we come with grateful hearts, recognizing the blessing that we endeavor to care for. And so we pray that mercy and grace and wisdom would abound in the midst of conversations and decisions made tonight. We pray your presence to be felt among us as we consider important things for our city. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. This time we have a special treat. Tyler Osborne, Troop 584, is going to come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Here you go.
Good job. Good job. Good job, man.
All right, this time we'll open a public forum. Anybody has anything they'd like to share with us or talk to us about, feel free to do so. State your name, your address, and keep it short. All right, nobody. Public forum's closed. Acceptance of agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Excuse me. Number 7, proclamation. Tim Berry is going to read that for us. I'm sorry, Councilman Berry.
You're all right. Thank you, Mayor. You guys, come on up. The swim team, come on up. So the city of Andover has a proclamation, whereas the Kansas 5A Boys State Swimming and Dive Meet was held on February 20th, 2021 in Shawnee Mission, Kansas. And whereas the Andover Central High School boys swim team prevail over its opponents, thus winning the 5A championship. And whereas the Andover Central boys swimming team has a record of excellence and now with the state championship, and whereas the team's continued level of high achievement brings honor and pride to the Andover community. And whereas the team's success is due to large part to the teamwork and devotion of these dedicated students. Raise your hand if these are you. Jackson Lee, Ethan Finney, Noah Kruger, Lucas Kruger, PJ Domingo, Bo Blankenship, Ryan Crowley, Jackson Ward, and James Kong. Did I say that right? Kang, I apologize. And now therefore be it resolved that Mayor Ronnie Price of Andover, Kansas, with the concurrence of the City Council, assembled in regular session at Andover, Kansas, this 30th day of March 2021, hereby proclaim March 31st, 2021, ACHS Boys Swim Team Day. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Great job, fellas.
Thank you.
You gotta be careful of yourself because you work right now. All right, one more. All right. Congratulations. A lot of hard work. Thank you very much, guys. Okay? Take care.
Give the rest of the guys at school. If you want.
I'm gonna give these to your coach and I'll let her
Thank
do
you.
it. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that we authorize the mayor to sign the proclamation declaring Wednesday, March 31st, 2021 as Andover Central High School Boys Swim Team Day, recognizing them as state championships.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move we approve consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.7 as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Excuse me. Public hearing for TIF Area Project 1. Jenny is gonna, scared me. Jenny's gonna speak to us about this.
I know, I found my microphone, so I'm not usually up here. Jenny McCausland, your city administrator. I do want to introduce a couple of the items coming up on your agenda tonight. Items 9, 10, and 11 all relate to the Heritage Project. This is a long-term project that we have been working on. And before you tonight are going to be 2 project plans for TIF, tax increment financing, as well as 1 public hearing you're going to have for Community Improvement District. All 3 of those are going to require their own public hearing, but because these projects are completely interwoven, we're going to have a representative of the development team, Mr. Jerry Jones, come up here and present to you both project plans as well as the proposal for the CID or Community Improvement District at one time. I think that will be the cleanest way to do this. Then we'll go back to your agenda and we'll go through those procedural items of having a public hearing for TIF Area 1. And at the conclusion of that, you'll take up the matter of that ordinance and that development agreement. Then we'll move to TIF Area 2 and do the same process. And then finally, we'll conclude that with the Community Improvement District. Are there any questions? I should let you know on Zoom, your financial advisor, Mr. Dustin Avey, is available. Can you hear me, Dustin? He can. Yeah, there he is. He can hear us. All right. Your bond counsel and city attorney, Mr. JT Klaus, are here tonight. And other members of the development team are also here as well. So if there are other members of the development team that you have questions for, I'm sure they'd be delighted to answer those as well. Any procedural questions before I hand it over to Jerry? Mr. Jones. All right. Your turn. I'll pass the baton.
Think you, Jenny, and thank you, Mayor and council members. We appreciate your time this evening for these items that are a big deal for our development team, and I know they're a big deal for the city of Andover. So we appreciate all the effort and leadership and vision that the council has to advance this project, and want to thank the staff and their consultants, because there's been a lot of effort that's gone into this over the specifically on the items tonight for almost a year now. It's coming up on a year. So a lot of work has gone into this, and I know that we've all in workshop sessions have gone over a lot of this with you, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Really give an overview tonight. I'm speaking on behalf of Heritage Square Andover LLC, and other partners in that entity are here tonight. Mr. Mike Lease is the property owner and a member of this group. Lance Beal, I think you all know, is also with Lease Properties. Dave Burke with Marketplace Properties, the developer of Old Town in Wichita, is a partner, and Dave Wells, president of Key Construction, is here tonight. Also here are a couple members of our development team. Marlon Penner with JT Arnold Associates is here, and Jason Gish with MKC Engineers. So everybody on our team has been very involved in this. I think we have some representative from Polsinelli Law Firm possibly on Zoom also. So if we really get into the weeds tonight, I might have to call on them to answer some questions. But they also are a valued member of our team and have worked very closely with your legal counsel to draft these documents that are before you tonight. So let's go to the next slide. This is the Heritage Master Plan. The Heritage is a 110-acre master plan community. And as you know, if you've, I'm sure, driven out there lately, the first phase of this project is already underway. Perfection Builders, who is one of our development partners, is developing two neighborhoods, the Commons, which is on the west side, and the Courtyards at the Heritage, which is on the east side, are under construction. And that is about, constitutes about half of this project. The south half of the project is a mixed use development, is part of the Heritage Mixed Use PUD. And that will be mostly commercial, but will be a mix of uses. And as we've talked about before and we'll talk about tonight, it will include a multifamily component to it. This is one of the exhibits from the project plans. We are tonight going to, or you will, approve if you see fit, the project plan, TIF project plan for what's called Project Area 1, and another project, TIF project plan for Project Area 2. And the 110 acres is bounded by the, I guess, fuchsia, I'll call it, boundary line on this drawing. The areas that are shaded in yellow and white are Project Area 1. And Project Area 1 was a part of the original TIF project plan and is constituted the entire TIF district that was created in, approved in July of 2019. The darker areas, the kind of purple color there, is Project Area 2. And that is really the new part of this plan. So we broke the project area, the project plans into two project areas, two project plans, and each of those project areas will have its own development agreement. So you'll be, there are 4 documents tonight that relate to the TIF projects. This, there we go. This image is from the, for the Community Improvement District, and this will involve 2 additional documents that are before you tonight. The Community Improvement District is over the mixed use portion, the southern half of the site. And it's about a 45-acre area. And with the Community Improvement District, if it is created, there will be an additional 2-cent sales tax on any retail sales that occur in the future in this area. Once it's developed and we have businesses, to the extent that those businesses collect sales tax, 2%, an additional 2-cent sales tax will be collected. It'll go to the state and then come back to the city of Andover and then be distributed to the developers of the project. As we talked about in the workshop, this is going to enable us to do a lot of the things that I'll talk about here in a minute that really are going to make this project special. So you'll have an ordinance to pass the district, and then there is also a development agreement that goes along with that. So the reason for all of these, the TIF district and the development agreements and the community improvement district, is to enable the development of something that is going to be very unique for Andover, and we think is a transformative project for the community that will be something that'll stand the test of time. I don't know if I've got a Susan. Yeah. Okay, I've actually got a pointer here. This is an aerial view looking north from Kellogg. What this street here is going to be called Heritage Way, and that is all of these streets and the parks that are part of the TIF project will be funded by tax increment financing. So the property taxes, the increment in property taxes generated by the development in this area will go to retire the bonds to pay for the streets and parks. Heritage Way will in effect be the main street for this project, and our vision for this, and in step with the vision of the council, is to create a if you will, a downtown for Andover. This will be a place where the community can gather and come together and shop and dine and live and do business. The piece of this that is part of the Project Area 2 TIF project plan, above and beyond the original project plan, is a parking garage that really makes it possible to create this walkable gathering place, which is Heritage Square. And these diagrams show how that'll work. So this is the ground floor, street level Heritage Way. I pointed out earlier, the parking facility is in this area, and these 4 buildings will be commercial buildings that'll face onto the streets. So there's surface parking, and then there's a ramp that goes up to the 2nd level of the parking facility that will be here, and then there will be 3 levels of apartments above that. In section, this shows, again, Heritage Way is here. The commercial development faces onto that. The parking garage wraps over and around the commercial, and then the apartments are above that. The tax increment, the financing will be used to pay for the parking facility. And that is, again, part of the Project Area 2, and that's projected to be a $13.5 million tax increment financing project. So what's all that going to look like? This is a street view then of Heritage Way looking towards the north. And here you can see, again, the ground level commercial, the 3 levels of apartments. There will be some of our apartments. We believe now that it's going to be closer to 187 apartments. And then what you can't really see, and that's by design, is the parking garage. So the parking will be behind the commercial and under the apartments. And if you look very closely, you can see in between them the area where that parking will be. This is a sidewalk scene, streetscape along Heritage Way with the commercial facing onto the street. You can see there will be parking along the street, curbside parking. Again, a much larger public parking facility behind these businesses. There will be very wide sidewalks, which will allow for sidewalk cafes. We really want to see a lot of activity in this area. We want people who we want people who live here to stay and shop here. We want people who live in Andover to come into this area. We also want people outside of Andover to come into this area. Again, the tax increment financing for Project Area 1 will actually pay for Heritage Way and the other streets in this area. This is really the focal point of the whole project. The entire heritage development will be the Heritage Town Square. And this is looking towards the east from within the town square. This is the Heritage Square apartments and commercial. This is a sculpture that'll be part of this, a focal point of this project, celebrating the heritage of Andover, the agricultural heritage of the original Andover. And then here's another shot from further back that shows the town square in the background. This is actually taken from across the square. Other parts of the Heritage Square project are projected to be a 100-room hotel. And there will be a total of about 50,000 square feet of commercial. And then the last piece of that will be a senior living development. So all told, in the tax increment financing package will be $26 million of net proceeds, TIF proceeds, to pay again for the streets and the parks and the parking garage. And those are being guaranteed by the developers. There's two different guarantees. There's the Project Area 1, which has the guarantees that were approved and agreed to with the first plan. And then there's Project Area 2, which will have a $9 million guarantee. So it's a total of $12 million guarantee of the proceeds to retire these bonds. I guess the last thing I'd like to say is that this is the kind of development that cannot happen without these incentives. This is without incentives, you would see the type of development you might see at Kellogg and Rock Road or along Rock Road in Wichita. In order to create something special like this that's walkable and truly becomes a centerpiece for the community, it does take incentives. This is not something that is possible, the market supports, but we feel very, very strongly about the marketability of the development that will occur with the apartments and the commercial. And again, with your grace tonight in approving these projects, we are ready to move forward. There's a 60-day protest period before ponds can be issued. That'll take us out to around the 1st of June. But if these projects are approved tonight, we will be started with development out here in June. And our completion date is targeted at April of 2023. So it's taken us a long time to get here tonight. It's going to take a while longer to get to where we open, but this is really just the start of something we think will last many lifetimes for this community. So again, we thank you for all you've done to help us get to this point tonight, and we look forward to partnering with the city going forward. Like I said, I'll stand by for any questions, and but I'll turn it back over to staff.
All right, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I think it would be prudent to go ahead and open that public hearing for TIF Area 1. If you could advance the slide to slide 3. I want to be sure it's very clear what we're talking about, and I'm going to grab that pointer. Can I do it with this? We're working against each other now. I'll let him do it. Perfect. Okay, so for this first public hearing, we are talking about the area highlighted in pink, excluding these crosshatched areas. So basically, all of this, it's a little bit of an odd shape, but the area highlighted in all pink, but not the crosshatched areas. Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. At this time, we'll open up for a public hearing. If someone would like to speak, feel free to do so. State your name, your address, and try to keep it under 3 minutes.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name's Gary Adams. I live at 428 East Willowbrook. And no, I'm not for this project. I don't care for our bonds be supported by our taxes for something I'm not for in the first place. So I appreciate it if you vote this down. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Public hearing closed. Thank you, Mr. Adams. Oh, that's on me, right?
Yes, at this time, I think you are prepared now to consider the adoption of the project plan adopting ordinance. So certainly if you have any questions for anyone tonight, discussion at the bench, but that I think you're ready for 9.1.
10.1.
9.1.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve ordinance adopting an amended and restated redevelopment project plan Area 1 in the Andover Redevelopment District 2019 and providing for financing of such district.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. On to 9.2, correct?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to approve the First Amendment to the developers agreement between Leeds Properties LLC, Heritage Landing LLC, Heritage Landing 2 LLC, Perfection Signature Properties LLC, and the City of Andover, Kansas, for development of a Heritage Edition Area 1 and Heritage Development Tax Increment Financing District Area 1, and authorize the mayor to sign such agreement.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 10, public hearing for TIF Project Area 2.
Is this working? Okay. Just to remind you, project area 2 is this cross-hatched area. So this is now the portion that you're talking about. The TIF funds to support this will be in an approximate $15.5 million with proceeds of $13.5 million for the project costs.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Oh.
We need to have a public hearing.
Yes.
I
I'm
like to
sorry.
talk in the public. I'm kidding.
All right. So again, we'll open for a public hearing. If you'd like to come forward, state your name, your address, your concerns, try to keep it under 3 minutes. Anyone? Public hearing closed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve an ordinance adopting a redevelopment project plan Area 2 within the Andover Redevelopment District 2019 and providing for financing of such district.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 10-2, Developers Agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the developers agreement between Heritage Square Andover LLC, Heritage Landing LLC, Heritage Landing 2 LLC, collectively the developers, and the city of Andover, Kansas for development of Heritage Addition Area 2 and Heritage Development Tax Increment Financing District, and authorize the mayor to sign such agreement.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Again, we're at 11, and Jenny will speak to us about 11-1 Community Improvement District adopting ordinance.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, I do want to call your attention to, we are now shifting a little bit of purpose and we're shifting districts. So this is the Community Improvement District, which is this gray area here. This is the additional levying of a 2% sales tax for 22 years that Mr. Jones spoke to you earlier. There were questions previously and in the past about, does this include the residential area? It does not. It is just this southern portion of the heritage area that is shown to you in gray. Like the TIF districts, despite the fact that this one is not a issuing of bonds, what you just approved was the issuing of debt in order to pay for the infrastructure. What's before you right now with Community Improvement District is the levying of the additional sales tax. And so it does still require a public hearing because of that additional sales tax levying. So I'd ask you to please open that public hearing now.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. At this time, I'll open a public hearing. If you'd like to come forward, state your name, your address. Keep it under 3 minutes. Nobody? Public hearing closed for the CID. 11-1 Community Improvement District adopting ordinance. I'm sorry, I said that already.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve an ordinance creating the Community Improvement District Heritage Project in the city of Andover, Kansas, and authorizing the levy of Community Improvement District retailers' sales tax to be collected within the district.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 6-0. 11-2 Developer Development Agreement, CID.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the developers agreement between Heritage Square Andover LLC, Heritage Landing LLC, Heritage Landing 2 LLC, collectively the developers, and the city of Andover, Kansas for development of the Heritage Addition Community Improvement District, CID, and authorize the mayor to sign such agreement.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 12, the Heritage North Linear Greenway Improvements. And Lance Onstott will talk to us about that.
I think actually, Mr. Mayor, Jason Gish, who represents
Oh, okay.
engineering for the Heritage Project, would like to present to you this request.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So what we're working on here, and maybe I can borrow that. And there are some slides that go with this that I believe are in your packet that will more clearly define what we're looking at, but I can also point to this. Basically, in the project area one that you're just discussing that was amended, but in the original and in the amendment, there's what we refer to as the North Park. And this is actually the icing on the cake portion that I want to talk to you about. And it's installing of the park improvements. So It'd be sidewalks, street lighting along Shea, which was a TIF project, pedestrian lighting along in the park, along the sidewalk, and then the amenities within the park, so landscape, the irrigation, the power system for that lighting. And then we kind of have some small picnic areas and things like that. So kind of passive recreation park uses. And what we've done is we've submitted plans to staff for their review and comment. And what I'm asking this evening on behalf of the development team is we would like the opportunity to negotiate the bidding of this with some kind of folks that we'd like to invite to negotiate with. Similar but different than what you did on Yorktown Parkway. We have some group of folks that we believe are qualified that would do this per our specifications in a timely manner and to the level of what the plans and specifications are asking for. And we're asking for the opportunity to simply try to negotiate this with them. And of course, at the end of the day, you would still have the approval and acceptance of that, as well as just reminding you that the work would still be performed under city contract per the standard bid document package, if you will, the way the contract works, and a way it would be administered. So that's basically it. It's perhaps unusual, but given the timing and what we're trying to create here, we think that's a good model forward, but I'd stand for any questions.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
can
sir.
I ask if, just so everyone else can see, if you could scroll back to maybe the first or second that shows there you go. That shows the landscape plan all down the middle, right?
Yeah, this is a basic rendering of what that would
Rendering,
look like. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
So we're essentially talking about everything green on that map.
We are asking about this portion right here within this park.
This does not include the Heritage Park and all that.
Right, so there's in that project area 1 and subsequent pieces of that, it will continue to what we refer to as the North Park. This is the South Park, and this is the Town Square or Heritage Square. So those are the major public park pieces within the development.
But the only piece that you're talking about, Jason, is the top third, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the funding for this is in this piece right there.
Including that including that pond.
That's right. And if you might recall, this would be the third. That's why if you've seen the plans, it says North Park Part C. And Part C is the third series of plans for the improvements. If you recall, the drainage for this and all the improvements and building of the pond and the drainage structures and such in there, those were part of Part A and Part B, North Park.
How are you planning on vetting the landscape designer
So-
or installer, I guess?
Yes, so we actually have like the same group of companies in mind that you looked at for the Yorktown Parkway. And that is kind of that group of people was what I mentioned to you before, are folks that we have have proven and are my experience to do the job to the level that we need to without a bunch of delays and challenges. And we definitely will, we can do it the other way. I'm only asking that we're kind of trying to push this along quickly. That's no fault of yours, but we think that this is just our best way to move forward, would be to have someone that historically has proven themselves reliable in performing.
So what you're trying to ask for is us to circumvent the competitive bid process for this $1 million project and say, we're going to go with people that we know, so that we don't have to worry about the competitive bid?
No,
I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of your speech, you were talking about, it's still going to be our process. We're still going to vote on it. So why would we take the competitive bid out of that?
well, I'm just asking, we can competitive bid it kind of internally. And if you want to do it through the conventional process, we can sure do that. I'm just trying to push things along a little more quickly and to use the companies to kind of just, I can come back. I'd be glad to show you all the information and show you kind of the extended bid tab that we would normally provide you and say, here's where things land. This would be our request of who we move forward with.
So me personally, is this time for discussion?
Yeah.
I think we have a fiduciary duty to the constituents of Andover to make sure this gets competitive bid out there. Because especially with $1 million, there can be a lot of changes, I think. And I don't want to say I'm locked into these 4 people. If someone else out there can do it, at a cheaper rate or a better cost to the city.
You mentioned that one of the benefits is that you know that they do quality work,
Yes.
which I believe you're the expert in that. What is the benefit as far as the timing goes? Because it's going to be a bit of a process for us to start. So that seems to be something that you're also saying would be a benefit to us as opposed to not going through that process.
Certainly. So we would, like any city project, we would still write in parameters for the time at which the project, whether we could do it. There's 3 ways that your contract basically allows, and I'm not going to get them exactly right because it's a little bit, maybe JT could help me get them exactly right. But basically, you can put like say 40 working days and some other things tacked onto that. That's one option. The second option is you put a calendar completion date and you work towards that. And that's what we did on the Parkway, the Yorktown Parkway, is we have a calendar completion date. Or you can do, like I said, kind of similar to the first one, you basically have the working days and that's how you proceed with the project, is just based on, if you got 40 working days, they have 40 days of which to complete it. And the inspector makes note of those days. And when you have a full day, it's counted. So when they're out there working. So those are your basic methods of doing it. And what I'm kind of trying to explain, or I guess the point I'm making is not everyone, not all companies can probably, even if it's in the specification and then the general provisions of the project, one company might be able to do it in 20. It may take another one 40 or another one 60. One thing that we can do a little bit of, if you would allow me, is I can maybe in this method have more of an inquiry or a question that I can go out there and say, how long is it, how long would it take you? And maybe that's a consideration we could have. It may be something that isn't important to you all when we come back to approve it, but I could at least share information that would say, these folks say they can get it done by this date, and these folks by this date, and here's what they're willing to do it for. Maybe that makes it more complex. Maybe that's not what you want, but that's a possibility.
Well, I really don't, I guess, really care if it takes them 20 days or 45 days or 60 days. I think it's more about the quality.
Yeah.
And I think that's what maybe you're trying to say is you want better quality. And, so if you know that landscape contractor A bids low and half of their landscape dies in less than a year, you don't want that person bidding on that job because they're going to be a low bidder. So you want to choose 3 possibly top grade quality landscape contractors to come in and do your job. If it takes 20, 30, 40, 60 days to do it, as long as they're going to back it up. And if something dies, they're going to replace it. Is that what you're trying to?
It's partially, yes, sir.
Okay. And so, I mean, I know we've done this before so we do have a precedent of doing this. It's rare.
Can you give me the example, Mike, and when we did this?
Jenny, can you remember that?
Wastewater.
It wasn't a landscape one.
Yeah, the best I can recall is that we've done this with paving in subdivisions, typically benefit districts, where the rationale I recall, but I can't tell you what neighborhood it was, but it was a developer had a subdivision on, say, the west side of 159th, and they were all set up and going with paving, and they were wrapping that project up, and now they have a development in Andover on the east side of 159th, and they could just easily move in, offer the same pricing, and that there would be time saving and cost saving in order to do that. I can't tell you precisely what neighborhood or addition of neighborhood that is, but I do know that those were circumstances considered in the past and approved.
I think we may have done this on Yorktown when we were building this, Les, is that correct? Yep. So that's a pretty recent one. I should have remembered that earlier.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So this public park is not being done in a normal way that we would build a public park, right? Normally, us as a council would identify, work with, create in a way, or create the layout and look and what we want. We've done none of that on this. This is all that. This is their project. And the TIF money that's being used to pay for this too, whether it's $50,000 less because we went with someone that who have now no longer really been in all of the design of all this, decide is a cheaper one to go with, right? It actually, the TIF dollars stay the same anyway. So it's not like in the long term, because it's a TIF district with a very specific to the penny number already, it's not like it would save the taxpayer anything. It would be used just on something else within the TIF district.
Yep.
If it was our project, different.
Mhm.
It's not. It is, but it's not. And long term, we're not even maintaining this thing. It is still the developers or the development or the HOA that is actually maintaining this whole park, not the city. So which we would do if we went and designed it and did all that. The only concern per se that I have, and I voiced it last night too, is that 2 years from now, if things start dying, who pays for re-putting in a tree? Who pays for maintaining the landscape, that kind of thing? That's not exactly what we're voting on tonight. That is a question I have though. So my understanding is a 1-year warranty on all the landscaping and trees and bushes and everything. So normally we as a city would obviously pay to replace trees and stuff in our parks. This is a public park. Who will pay for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I may have to lean on others because I don't know that I have all the knowledge of the exact details and the long-term agreement, but I am aware that so in our typical process, there is a warranty period. You are familiar with what we did on the Yorktown, where there's actually a maintenance component for a period of time on that. I think that bodes well for you on your project. This one being a little different because it is the developers, but we would still have a maintenance period within this up to completion, which is a shorter one than what you had, like for instance, on the Yorktown Parkway. But the plan material is still required to be warranted for a year. Now, put yourself in anyone's shoes that does this. If somebody else is taking care of it, you kind of lose control, quite honestly. And this is something we struggle with when you're installing living plant material because it's living. And so it's different than a street. Well, they have warranties on streets and stuff too, but I guess the point is this is a lot, there's a lot more variables, I perceive anyways. So it's going to be up to the developer. I think it's in the long run, how it's maintained and taken care of. But I don't, like I said, I apologize. I don't know the exact details of who, if something dies, how that's exactly paid for long term. But I think, and maybe Lance or someone can help me, I think there's incentive in there or some responsibility upon the developer themselves.
Yeah, I will pipe up just a little bit here. We've been working with Jason this week on this very topic, and I think it's a really important topic because it's a different arrangement than typically for a public park, because we know we get phone calls when there's something wrong in a public park and it needs addressed. And so part of the maintenance agreement that Mr. Gish and city will be working back and forth on regarding park maintenance, this will be a separate agreement to come to you likely in April, will be, what is the reasonable response time for a level 1 maintenance concern? What is a reasonable response time for a level 2 concern, or something to that nature? I agree with you, Troy. The control freak in me needs some more details and a little bit of that fleshed out to say whose responsibility is what and what's a reasonable time frame to address those issues. And I'm confident we'll get through that with that agreement.
And I'm not saying the city, since it is a public park, shouldn't be responsible or percentage responsible or anything like that. I'm just saying who's responsible, and which we'll answer later.
Right.
Sounds like. And again, that's not what we're voting on tonight. But that's my only concern with this really is.
One of the things I brought up last night as well is, we brought up 2 years in a landscape maintenance responsible by the installing contractor. We're not voting on that tonight, but it's something that needs to be considered, because the last thing we want them to do is put a tree in, don't put the soil around it, and 12, 14 months later it dies. So that's one thing we don't want to see happen in this park. So, and there may be other maintenance wording that you can put in there to make it similar to that. But that's something we need to consider.
Yeah, I'm imagining that there's accountability measures in any agreement, and that would be part of this. There has to be kind of both parties working together in some respect, and I would hope the goodwill of, trying to make the project. The incentive for the developer is we want it to look good so that we can make the project successful. So I know that's theirs, and the city would have the same incentive. So I think there's a means of partnering on that for the same common goal.
It doesn't behoove the project going forward for a number of years to have a dead stuff being sitting there as it does in some spots. It doesn't behoove them, and our guys, and whenever they take over, our Park and Recreation are outstanding if they do that, but that's not us. So that's what our concern is, that things start dying when the houses are full, and whose ownership is it?
And to be clear, it's the developer. The
Public
developer
park.
has specifically requested that this public park be maintained by them. And I think that's great. They have a desire for it, with all due respect to the Parks Department, to be a step above what your public park system looks like today. I know it's hard to imagine, but that is the desire. The things to work out are, how do we report needs for maintenance when someone calls us, because you should see the Facebook messages we get over the weekend. So when we get a photo of a bush that needs to be pulled out and replaced or something to that nature, what's that reporting system? But the developer will provide the maintenance at the park.
Cradle to grave on the development.
I'm sorry?
The park is theirs, cradle to grave.
At this time, the agreement is that they are maintaining the park. So it would require an amendment or a change for that to change.
Would that change with ownership?
Would
would the new owner then also be?
So eventually, I think, to try to answer that, eventually, at some point when the developer gets these sold, it becomes the master association.
Mhm.
And their responsibility. So they would have to continue. They'd be the successor of that agreement, and they would, it's their park. It's in their backyard, so to speak. So, but I know all the concerns, and you see them every day. So it's not anything new in that regard. But
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
What is the time frame for this? We keep talking about time.
So Parade of Homes starts on the weekend of April 10th. We'd like to be done by then, but that's not possible.
No.
Oh, I was like, dang.
Okay, there's no way.
So the point is, we'd really like to get this in as quickly as possible. We'd like to be able to beat the summer heat. Now, we are doing, a lot of the things in here are native. So we'll have the advantage of them being a little better acclimated to our climate. We have a big section of shortgrass prairie down through the center. So those kind of things are going to be fine. It's just the maintenance of getting them established. So to answer your question more directly, I mean, we really want to push to be done by July, mid-July.
I guess my biggest concern is we're still building in both housing areas.
Mhm.
And I remember when we built our house in Crescent Lakes, brand new. I mean, we were like the fourth house in there. Those construction guys just drive wherever they please. And so if we spend $1 million in this park, who is going to prevent, the construction guys who are building on these lots to not cross over? Or is there some accountability? Is there are we taking precautions?
Yes, great question. This is kind of unique. This particular developer is also the builder, and they're responsible for every sub on the site. So we'll have a pretty easy time pointing the finger at who's responsible.
So I guess what I'm hearing, are you done, Tim? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
So I
Mr. Mayor.
guess what I'm understanding, that's a little clearer to me now, is that part of the expeditiousness on your part to not to go out and wait for bids just so you can beat the heat and be done before Kansas sun burns everything up.
We're behind on getting the park designed. And so that's our bad. We're asking if you could help us out a little bit. We think that we can gain some weeks back.
So, and we're just talking about, again, the North Linear Greenway as far as tonight.
Yes.
So going forward, it wouldn't be safe to assume that council will want to do this every single time.
Understood.
Okay.
I don't think that there's necessarily an issue with you guys doing it yourselves, but to Homer's point, we did issue the TIF. So regardless of if the dollars stay the same, I do think we have a responsibility to have a hands-on approach as far as that goes. So I think as long as there's some transparency between how you're going about that process, then I could support that in this case. But as the mayor said, it may not be that way since there's going to be so many things happening with this project. It'll be on a case by case basis, likely for us.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that. Where's it at? Which one is it? I'd like to move that the request to negotiate an agreement with the Heritage North Linear Greatway Improvements. Is that right?
Are you going to approve or disapprove?
Approve the request to negotiate the agreement for the
Second?
Heritage North Linear Greenway.
Did you
It's been a long
second that,
day,
Shelby?
sorry.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I don't think we should do it. I think it needs to be set up for competitive bid because like Troy pointed out, we do this one, it's going to snowball because then you're going to say that on the second pond. We've already done the Yorktown Parkway, and then now we're going to do the North Linear, and now we need to do the B pond. I really think it needs to be set out for competitive bid. And if the concern is timeliness and getting the job done, at the end of the day, that's how you write the bid then, right? I mean, we've talked about it before when we're talking about competitive bids, that's how the bid needs to be done. And at the end of the day, if we're going to be approving it and spending $1 million on it right now, I can only imagine what we're going to be doing in the future. And I think it needs to be as transparent as possible when it comes to the bid process and using this money.
May I just add? So I want to clarify. We are competitively bidding it, but we're just inviting a smaller group.
Okay.
That's what we're asking.
I mean, Homer, I agree on the whole competitive bidding thing, but but they're actually coming to us in advance and asking us about this, and they are wanting to be transparent on who the bidders are and what the prices are. But if this was,
Well, I mean, we had a lot of discussion on the 60,000, don't quote me on the cost, fire truck, that we just purchased. And we sent that out for competitive bid and only one bid came back and you guys were having a problem with that. So I think we need to stick to our competitive bid on this.
When we sent it out to the fire trucks to get bid, we had a very select few places that we sent that bid, right? It might have been published, but it's not like the entire United States saw that bid and they could bid on it.
Well, same thing with this then.
Yeah, they have a very select few, 3, which is pretty good companies that they guarantee through history and working with. This is why I'm making my decision. I'm not trying to, you're not going to change your mind, but I'm just saying this is the way I'm thinking. They've already vetted them. And now of the 3 that are vetted and are qualified and can absolutely do the job, who's going to do it for the least amount of money is what's next. And that's what they're handling. My understanding. Does that sound fair or is that not?
Yeah, we're still intending to competitively bid it. And we'll show you that in that full extended bid tab.
When we
just-
vote on it.
Yeah.
That,
When we take a look at it and approve
yes,
it.
yes, I'll be glad to be back here in front of you next time and have that all available.
So, Jason, thank you. And the thing is, your work with us in the last year that we know of, you've been very exemplary, and that carries a lot of weight. But you have to be careful what you. I'm just as professionals, you have to be, as they say on the farm. You don't want to name something you might have to eat, right? So. We're looking for it to be the best it can be for this city, and I believe y'all will do that. So, right. So, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1.
Thank you.
13-1, charter ordinance. Council President, okay.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I interrupt just for a second?
Absolutely.
We went through, people, I know some people are listening and leaving, but number 9, 10, and 11, we went through those like in 5 minutes. But people probably don't understand that we spoke about those things for the last year or more. And then, of course, we're talking about landscaping. It takes us 30 minutes. That's a new item that we just talked about. And so that's why we put a little more thought and questions into it instead of just, going through $26 million in 5 minutes. But we didn't. It was years. So just wanted to have that 2 cents.
Thank you. It's worth pointing out.
And this is a new item, but you don't have to take 30 minutes on it, or at least I hope not. You might notice a couple charter ordinances. I know we've approved some recently. And looking at the code, a few staff members and myself have been spending a little extra time looking at the code and for some inconsistencies. A few years ago, I believe it was effective in 19. The state legislature changed when local elections occur so that instead of occurring in April, as they typically had, they were pushed to major elections in November. As a result, we didn't go in and change the city code to when we appoint the council president. The way that had been worded was that it was the first meeting after the election when your new body at that point in time was seated at the bench. By leaving it as it is, that would mean that in November, you'll have an election. Some of those people sitting on that bench might be part of the newly elected governing body. Some may not be, and they would be selecting your council president. So this is just an opportunity to, kind of clean up and streamline putting all of those appointments at the same meeting, the second meeting in January, following an election year for the council president. You only do that every 2 years. But it also puts a situation in place where the people selecting the council president are your newly elected governing body. They are not potentially a mismatch of some were reelected, some are retained, and some perhaps were not reelected. Seems to make the most sense. Happy to clear up any questions you have, but that's why this is before you tonight.
Will we need to re-elect or possibly vote on a new president then, or will his term stand as of right now?
So that's an every 2-year term. So whenever there'd be an election, this November, there'll be an election. So what I'm proposing.
I'm just making
to-
sure we don't need to change it. If we vote to approve this ordinance, will we need to re-vote or anything?
No, what would just happen is then next January at your second meeting, when the mayor appoints the other appointments included on that agenda, you all will vote, because that's not an appointment. That's a vote of the governing body. You all would vote for who the council president is in January of 22.
Thanks, Jenny, for that clarification.
We actually did it right this past time because we didn't vote until the first or second meeting in January. So, I mean, we did it right this past time, even though the ordinance is not right.
We haven't done it yet, because since the changes happened, you haven't had the 2-year
years.
period. Your council president resigned previously in 2019, and that position was replaced by a vote.
Man, if you didn't think I was doing a good job, you could probably make that vote as a council at any moment, right? Somebody could call and say, hey, I'd like to make a motion to appoint a new council president. No, that's not fair.
No,
That's not
first
accurate.
off-
I'm on
first off-
JT's looking.
First off,
You'd
calm
probably have
down.
to, you'd probably have to resign first.
Regardless,
What? I'm not gonna
Resign from that
Until I kick you
position.
out.
everybody calm down for a minute. Troy is the council president until we vote again. Let's just calm down.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for clarification. It was way more eloquently put than Jenny did. Thank you. Mr. Mayor,
JT, please.
Oh, no, I thought he did a pretty good job. All officers actually under Kansas law retain their office until they're replaced. This is designed so if we did make a mistake or forget to appoint someone, there's still an officer in that position. We have an officer in that position, and the next time we would elect a new one would be controlled by this ordinance.
You have to wait now.
Mr. Mayor. Oh,
Just
sorry.
1 minute. Just I want things to be very clear here, very clear. So everybody knows, and it's on video, I would have picked Miss McCausland for her job. Just to be clear. I would also pick Troy. They got picked when I was mayor-elect, but I would have picked them. That's just, y'all need to know that so that you know where everybody stands, all right? That's the way it works. So go ahead, Homer.
That's
Mr. Mayor,
Tim.
I move to adopt a charter ordinance amending charter ordinance number 23 by providing substitute provisions to the code of the city of Andover, Kansas as to the date the president of the council is elected, continuing to exempt the city of Andover, Kansas from KSA 14-204.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just want to say I was not saying that Troy did a bad job or that we should move to get him out. I think he's
I was
done
just messing.
amazing and he's really helped some of us new folks to the council, better ourselves and at the meeting and everything.
Pretty young, pretty much
He's been on the council over half his life.
born here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And thank you for that. Nice. That was
So
nice.
let's vote. Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. 14-1, message board radar.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and council. Before you is a request to purchase or approve the purchase of a police department 3x6 message board and radar trailer. This purchase was originally included, approved by this council last year and included in the department's 2021 operating budget. And the request in that budget was to purchase a trailer that would be used for community events, traffic and or crime incidents and or public service announcements, Additionally, a trailer that would have a radar and traffic counting capabilities so we can it would assist us in our ongoing traffic initiatives that we have here. The reason it's on your agenda for discussion tonight and not on the consent agenda is that I'm not recommending the lowest bid in this. Otherwise, this qualified to be on your consent agenda. Lieutenant Ben Graber, who's in the audience here, put together an RFP and submitted it out for competitive bids. We did receive bids from three competitive bids from companies. Custom Signals for a quote of $16,600. American Signals for a quote of $15,325, and a quote from Stalker Radar for $15,650. The reason that I am recommending the Stalker Radar quote, which is $325 more than the lowest bid, is actually threefold. First of all, Stalker Radar is a well-known, reliable radar company in police radars. In fact, all of our equipment, all of our police vehicles currently have Stalker radars in them. And I believe our 15-year plus radar trailer that's still operational that we currently have also came from Stalker Radar, like I said, over 15 years ago. Additionally, the Stalker Radar quote included a 2-year warranty, not a 1-year warranty that was included in the lowest bid. And finally, the Lieutenant Graber, who's in charge of our traffic efforts, traffic initiatives, and has been responsible for our last 2 platinum awards from the AAA of Kansas. He's reviewed the software that comes with this, the traffic analyst app, and we feel that best meets our needs for our ongoing traffic initiatives. So, and with that, I stand for any questions.
Was this a national bid? Did you put it out to only the 3 people?
We got 3 bids back. I'm not sure how many we actually submitted.
So when I put the bids out, there's very few companies that deal with the traffic radar. In fact, American Signal was one that I found. Most of their products look like construction message boards that you normally see, but they could also put the radar in. I believe with their original without a radar, it was like 12,000 was their quote, and then to add the radar, it was a little bit more. So these were the 3 that I knew of, well-known companies that I put it out to.
And then in regards to the $300 difference, because the one's better, why didn't we have that in the bid to say it needs to come with all this for this price?
The others do come with that, but the one company quoted a 1-year warranty versus Stalker.
So for the extra $300, we're getting an extra year warranty.
Yes.
And that's the only difference between the 3. Well, I won't say only difference, but
The 3 differences. One, it comes with an extra year warranty. Then the second thing is our trust in Stalker, that we've had a reliable relationship with them for longer than I've been here, and their equipment is always upheld here, our needs. And then the last thing is just that app. The other one comes with software program, but we felt this one best fit our needs. It was easy and efficient to use.
And then I don't know if the rest of the council knows in regards to, thanks, Lieutenant Graber. Chief Keller, in regards to the current trailer and the new trailer, is there any, I don't know, how do I put it, child proofing, if you will? Because I don't know if you remember in the Cornerstone one, it collapsed so it could still tell radar. But then one of the neighbors thought that someone accidentally had put the sign down. So they went over there and put it up so that you could see the speed or, whatever.
So there is childproof. I've never had that issue before.
Cornerstone.
Yeah.
North side.
Originally, we had a cover for our current radar trailer, and somehow that disappeared a few years ago. And so I would put it down to cover it. And there's just a bolt that I just attached. Everything else is locked up so nobody can steal it. And yeah, somehow all of a sudden I drove by one day and it was up. They figured out you unscrew it, you lift it up. That was not my intent. My intent was to cover it so people don't. What I generally tell people is they try to go for the high score. I wanted to avoid that. So with this new one, I'm sure there's going to be ways with it being a message board. I could probably black that out where nothing shows up. And that's my goal, is to, or at least have another message, but it's still going to record.
Like, don't touch. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Keep in mind, this is primarily a message board that we wanted to get for like major accident scenes, notifying people ahead of time, or some of our community events that the mayor talked about. But it also has the capabilities of tracking traffic speeds. And so, and I think there's several council members in here who have and the mayor too, has requested our radar trailer. And I've had to tell you, it's 2 or 3 weeks out because we have it in other neighborhoods. So this will help supplement that. We'll probably have it in 2 different neighborhoods.
Was this not something we could have bought the Sparks fund? I mean, I know Rick bought a couple trailers. Is this not something we could have?
We did purchase one, just a message board, not a radar trailer.
Oh, it has radar?
Oh, you have radar also? But there was one purchase. This was something that was included in our 2021 budget prior to the specs or Sparks money.
So how many trailers after this one are you going to have?
How many trailers are we going to have? We have one radar trailer right now, and then we'll have this message board.
Okay, I'm a little confused because you said we had one through the Sparks. So
I'm sorry. Well, that's the Parks Department. Rick has.
Okay.
So the city will have 2 message boards.
But I guess my question was, could we not have gotten this through the Sparks?
But you do have some issues with some planning federal money when it comes in. If you already have something approved and you use it, I don't know if that applies with the Sparks money, but you do have that issue on something you've already approved. It's already in your budget, and you supplement it with it.
The mayor would have liked to known that he shouldn't speed by your signs, Rick. How about that? This is not evening news. This is morning things I should find out before I drive to the courthouse or wherever, right?
So you already headed to court then, huh?
I think we tried to squeeze that second trailer in there, but it just didn't make the cut, I think.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to approve the mayor. Nope. Where am I at?
14.
I'd like to approve the police department's purchase of a 3x6 foot message center 360 message radar trailer from Stalker Radar at a cost not to exceed $15,650.
I'll second Council President Tabor's motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thanks, Lieutenant Graber. And
Thank you,
Chief
gentlemen.
Keller.
Thank you, Chief. My goodness. Mayoral appointments. Took a whole year, but I said it correctly, man. Board of Appeals, 15-1. Lance, you look very handsome tonight.
Thank you. Susan's going to check something while I introduce this topic to you. So as you guys know, the mayor, with consent of the city council, appoints a building official. This building official serves a number of different responsibilities, duties set forth by ordinance within the city. Primarily, their job is to interpret, to make determinations regarding the adherence to the various building and construction codes that we adopt within the city. From time to time, it's never happened since I've been a part of the city, an applicant, if you will, may appeal the determination or interpretation or decision of the building official. In that circumstance, we've set forth a process, an avenue for relief that they can seek. That is through this
Building and Construction Board of Appeals. So the constitution of this board is 3 members appointed for 3-year terms. Each member has to be a licensed design professional, which means either an engineer or an architect, or a licensed contractor. So they have to have expertise in these fields. 2 seats are currently vacant. We weren't ready to make appointments at our normal meeting in January. When we do, once we've solidified the interest of these 2 individuals, they were provided to the mayor. The mayor is setting forth both of them for appointment, which requires your consent.
I got Mr. Mayor, I have a couple questions. Do you mind?
No.
They're all 3-year terms now. The initial that was staggered.
Lance, in regards to the 3 people, so the building inspector and then 2 people on the Board of Appeals. So 3 people is on the board, that's it?
Yeah, there's three members on the Board of Appeals. All 3 are appointed. No staff members constitute those 3.
So I know these guys from site plan review, and I think these guys are very knowledgeable, when it comes to that. At what point in the process do they go to Building and Construction Board of Appeals when we're talking about zoning board and then site plan review?
So site plan and zoning will always happen prior to building permit application. So once you go through zoning, once you go through the site plan review process, you make application for a building permit. Typically at that point is when you're giving your really detailed plans for whatever it is you're constructing. The building official and his or her staff at that point will then make determinations based on those plans. If, let's say, the building official makes a determination that an applicant or an architect that's designing the plan needs to change something in there, and that architect does not agree with that determination, at that point, they would go through the Building and Construction Board of Appeals. So this happens well after zoning and site plan review.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, I like these guys. They're very knowledgeable when it comes to looking at a plan and telling if it has the right, whatever, drainage and trees and all that kind of stuff. We don't have any issue with them being on the previous boards to the appeal board.
Correct. It's a different level of review at these points.
Okay.
So yeah, no issues from your staff regarding membership on both.
Thanks, Lance. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
does anyone have anything else? Sorry.
No, I'm good, baby.
It's all you.
I move to approve the mayoral appointments of Todd Wollstonecroft and Brandon Wilson to the Building and Construction Board of Appeals to terms set to expire in January of 2024.
Second.
Thanks, man.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay. 16-1, attorney-client privilege.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to recess into executive session for consultation with the city attorney staff pursuant to KSA .754319B2, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. The session is to include the governing body, city administrator, and the city attorney. The open meeting will resume at 8:31.
We got to vote on it first.
Second. Troy will second that.
Thank you, President of the Council, Tabor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Let's get it.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we return session out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Member items.
You go first.
None tonight.
Wait, you're not gonna say anything about the ribbon cutting
Well,
for the disc golf?
well, that's not out and official yet, is it?
It is now. Homer just put it out in public.
It's not.
It was on our.
Channel 12 now.
An email.
Thanks, homie.
True.
I thought
Well,
it was
there's
on
a
our- sorry.
proposed, can I talk about this then? Okay. April 16th, we don't know what time yet, right? 5 p.m. Our new Andover Central Disc Golf course will have a ribbon cutting and will be open at that point. So
Sorry, I thought we
please come
voted on
out, and I didn't know if it was official yet, so.
We made it official on 8.7 consent agenda. And then also, the cornhole tournament is back on for the Chamber of Commerce this year. So looking for participants. If you feel your bag game's strong, then bring it on.
Does that mean you've already signed up?
Tentatively practicing right now.
Nothing? I'm good. Troy?
No, I'm good.
Wow. Huh? We made a big decision tonight, y'all, and I think it was the right decision. And we'll see as we go through this thing, we've made some good progress in a year, a lot of hard work and a lot of big decisions. And staff has been amazing through all of it, and I appreciate it. Donna, Donna and the whole staff have been carrying the water, if you will, to get this through. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just wanted to call your attention. I know I put it in my memo and I think we're starting to push it out on social media soon. April 26th is the 30-year anniversary of the tornado that impacted Andover in 1991. We will have an event. We'll talk about this more, but I just thought it was a good opportunity to get it on TV and streaming for those that might be watching. At 6:15 on the 26th, we will have a small memorial out in front in between City Hall and the library in the round circle area. Assuming weather is good. If it is not, if it's only raining, we'll move you in here. If we find out early in the day, unfortunately, as Mr. Benedict and the planners of the 25-year commemoration dealt with, if there are threats of tornadoes, and in fact, there's an active tornado, I believe it was watch or warning on that night 5 years ago, then we'll forgo it because we want everybody to be safe. And that is going to be one of the messages. We'll be pushing out a lot of social media tornado safety messages throughout the month of April. We've got a nice little event planned. So be looking in sewer bills for information about that.
Jenny, I'm just curious. Do we know how much of our population still lives here since then?
Survivors?
Well, I mean, people who lived here in just the city. Do we know?
We would definitely be able to pull like a number to a number, but I don't know if there would be a way to know who of 1991 is still here today. There may be a way to find that, but I don't know it.
Really, yeah. I mean, out of almost 14,000 people, I mean, back then, how many people did we have in 91 who lived here?
We pulled that number and I'm trying to think now what it was.
4,000 probably.
I lived out on Central.
Yeah.
And it just took everybody's right across my neighbor's place. There's a young lady, Amanda Cross, and she's known as the can opener girl because when they were handing out, she was young, obviously. And when they were handing out canned food, she was a little girl handing out can openers to go with the canned food. So one of the little facts that a lot of people don't know.
And she lives by you now?
She lives in Andover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure where I know she lives here in the city still.
Back in those days, I responded to the best fire department. I came to assist.
Mr. Mayor, on that, I also responded from the Wichita Police Department that night and then the next morning. But on a related note, I just wanted to pass because we haven't got it out to the public yet, and we will get it out here in probably the next 24 hours. But next Thursday, April 8th at 6:30, we're going to host our annual Storm Fury on the Plains training open to the public. It's like tornado weather watch safety training. It usually lasts about an hour, and we'll be getting stuff out on social media here real quickly, but it'll be right here, 6:30 in this room here.
All right, anything else? Can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries.
Follow.